Hello, Jeff Zwarenk, and welcome again to Give and Take, the segment of our show where we look at interesting and fascinating scientific topics to explore how they affirm the truth of Christianity. Today I'm joined by President and founder of Reasons to Believe, Dr. Hugh Ross, and we're going to ask the question, why would God create a planet with ice ages? Hugh, it's good to have you again today.
Thank you.
So this is something, we look through the history of Earth and we see these times where glaciers advanced greatly on the Earth, covered most of the United States, a lot of the Northern Hemisphere, or a lot of the North American continent. And it just kind of makes me ask the question, why would God do something like that? These seem kind of destructive and inhospitable. So what's going on here? What are these ice ages that we're talking about?
Well, our planet has had ice ages in the past, but they've lasted for millions of years. Mm-hmm. What's unique about the current era is that we have cyclical ice ages.
So this is the advance, retreat.
Yeah, they basically go from 10% of the planet being covered with ice to 20 to 23%. And it's the cyclical nature of this ice age that makes possible the existence of human civilization.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to how that plays into humanity, but let's kind of dig into the details a little bit more. What are the timescales on which these things happen, and how long have they been going on?
Well, the Ice Age cycle did not start until 2.59 million years ago. Before that, there were no Ice Age cycles. So it's only in the very recent part of Earth's history.
So we've seen evidence of past ice ages that were much more dramatic, but they weren't cyclical. So that's happened somewhere for basically the last 3 million years. Let's just use that number.
3 billion.
3 million, right?
3 billion. Well, 3 million is where we've had an ice age cycle.
Right, okay, so that's the cycle. And then how frequently do the ice ages happen in this cyclical behavior?
Well, it started off with a 41,000 year periodicity.
Okay.
But for the last 800,000 years, it's been approximately 100,000 year periodicity.
So it almost more than doubled its period. That's kind of remarkable.
It did, and there's some reasons why that was initiated. I've written a few blogs on that. What changed it from because 41,000 years is what you'd normally expect, and that's because of that's the variation in the tilt of our rotation axis.
Okay.
So as it tilts more, the planet gets warmer. As it tilts less, it gets colder, and that's a 41,000 year cycle. The 100,000 year cycle is much more complicated, partly driven by the change in the shape of Earth's orbit about the sun, but there are many other factors involved as well.
I find that interesting because the kind of the expected ice age cycle that you might expect there, the 41,000, while we had that, it's actually much longer, and that seems to be better for large-bodied organisms, particularly like humanity. So is this part of God's design?
I believe so, Jeff, because with a 41,000 year periodicity, the warm interglacial is only about 2,000 or 3,000 years wide. That's not enough time to launch and sustain civilization.
Okay, hold on. Before we move out there, let me just get that. So you got these glacial cycles that last for, say, 100,000 years or 41,000 years.
Right.
You got the warm interglacials where the glaciers aren't covering most of or a significant part of the planet. Is a few thousand years is all you're talking about. Is that what you're saying?
If it's 41,000 years, you only get a few thousand years of an interglacial. But if it's 100,000 years, you get like 10 to 15,000 years.
That's a significant length.
So that's enough time for we humans to launch civilization.
Now, I know one of the things you talked about in your blog, which we'll reference in a little bit here, is that this last period has had a very remarkably stable climate period, where it typically you see kind of right around that interglacial where it kind of goes up and down, but we've had a remarkably stable climate. What's going on there?
Well, the entire 2.59 million years, the climate's been extremely unstable, more unstable than it's ever been in Earth's history. It's only the interglacial in right now where we've got extreme climate stability.
And what do you mean by extreme climate stability?
The global mean temperature hasn't changed by more than plus or minus 0.65 degrees centigrade in 9,500 years. That's extreme climate stability.
10,000 years and basically half a degree Celsius up or down. That is really remarkable.
It is, yes.
So what goes into this happening? I mean, it doesn't seem expected. Seems like there's got to be a particular set of events that makes it happen.
It's several events that need to happen with perfect timing in order to bring about this stability. That's kind of the core of the blog article I wrote. But probably the most significant is you get a large asteroid hitting in northern Greenland, and it prevents the temperature from going up too high. If you look at the Ice Age cycle, the temperature has been peaking with each ice age cycle about 3 degrees centigrade above where it is right now.
Okay.
And it was this particular asteroid collision event that brought about an enormous cooling that prevented the temperature from getting that high. Then there were other events that also occurred that brought about the stability. So it's nothing short, in my opinion, of an amazing miracle that we have all these events coming into sync that give us this unique period of extreme climate stability. But without that, you couldn't have billions of us living here.
Well, and I've read your article enough to know that you look at that peak where it tends to peak right after it peaks, it generally drops down and you go into another ice age.
Exactly.
So we haven't done that either.
Yeah, if it gets too warm, you get an ice age. So,
you know, okay, so this is just pretty remarkable stuff. How would you go about using this information to share the gospel with someone?
well, just say, isn't it interesting? We've got this period of extreme climate stability at the very same time that we got no nearby supernova. Notice that this period also gives us a fertilization event, 2 simultaneous fertilization events. Yeah, what's happening, Jeff, is that as the ice recedes from the last ice age, these high plateaus get exposed, and you get this powerful wind blowing dust off these high plateaus. That dust is nutrient rich, and it gets dumped on the agricultural plains. At the same time, you've got a stimulated volcanic eruptions happening all over the earth, and volcanic material is nutrient rich for agriculture. Combine that with the ice left over from the last ice age. It's the melting of that ice that feeds the great rivers that allow us to irrigate the great agricultural plains. So only if we live in an ice age cycle where we're in an interglacial, where the climate is extremely stable, can we grow enough food to feed billions of people and set enough people free that they can do engineering and science and launch advanced civilization.
You know, I just find that a remarkable thing that this ice age that appears to be detrimental or harmful to the planet actually turns out to be very beneficial to humanity. I mean, we see numbers of places, you know, earthquakes, tectonic activity, even asteroid impacts have played a role in making Earth habitable, if you will. I think that's a pretty remarkable thing. So I appreciate your comments, Hugh. You know, when we investigate how the Earth behaves, there are a number of things that play into just how abundantly and robustly humanity can thrive on our planet. You know, I would encourage you to go check out Hugh Ross's blog, How Did Earth Get Its Stable Climate Cycle? Because you will be equipped to understand all of the different events, the asteroid impacts, the winds, the glacial meltwater that are so vital for an advanced civilization that allows us to spread throughout the earth and take the gospel to all creation. And you will be better equipped to be part of that great process.